Gucci gang was born in Coolock, a neighborhood notorious for its crime and violence. This gang was different from the others because it was made up of young, eager dealers. They stood out because they were obsessed with money and comfort. On social media, they were known for their flashy cars, expensive clothes, and huge amounts of cash. They weren't just dealers, they were names that gave the impression of untouchable power. The gang, which was led by the mystery man known as Mr. Flashy, quickly became the biggest criminal organization in Dublin. They controlled the show and used carefully planned operations to hide their money. But beneath the surface was a much darker story, one built on drugs, violence, and ruthless crime. But there were cracks starting to show through the shine. Things got worse as their power grew. Unpaid bills and rivalries started to weaken the gang. The close group, which used to be loyal, began to split up. Seán Little and Zach Parker, who used to be Mr. Flashy's friends, could feel that there was a power battle coming. It wasn't just about drugs anymore. It was about having power. Another question is what happens when you lose power? The gang was falling apart, and one important betrayal set off a chain of violence that no one could have seen coming. Zach Parker's life had always been a small business, but as he rose in the criminal world, he got caught in a dangerous web of debt. Parker owed the Gucci gang 200,000 euros, which was a huge amount of money. He couldn't pay it back. He did borrow drugs, but the cops found them and took them away before he could sell them. In the cruel world of organized crime, there was only one way out: die. Also, there was still a bill to pay. Parker thought that today, January 17, 2019, would be like any other day. He was only thinking about the road ahead as he left the gym. Then something caught him off guard. The shooter quickly emerged from the shadows and began firing at Parker's car. The attack took place quickly and was meant to show that the Gucci gang would not forgive. His body was found in the driver's seat, slumped over. It was a scary way to remember people who might get caught up in the cruel game of crime. There was more going on than just justice in the killing. It was the start of something much bigger. Things were going badly for the Gucci gang now that they were in a bloody power struggle. After Parker was killed, there was a lot of violence, and more people were killed with each move. But there was still one more big surprise to come. Parker would trust someone close to him to do something that no one saw coming. As the gang got more and more crazy, payback was on the horizon, and the next person who died would be even worse. It was getting easier for the Gucci gang to escape. Who would be the next person to fall? After Zach Parker was killed, Seán Little quickly went from being sad to wanting to get payback. For him, Parker wasn't just another co-worker, he was family, and if someone killed his brother, there would be consequences. Little was very angry, and he made it clear to everyone in the Gucci gang that Parker's death would be avenged no matter what. But when Little tried to get even, the gang started to fall apart. The Gucci gang used to be joined by their desire to be successful and show off their wealth, but now they were very split up. The people who supported Little were ready to fight back right away and were hungry for blood. Mr. Flashy, the gang's boss, though, didn't say anything. He knew what was at stake. If the police pay too much attention or there is too much chaos, the gang's plans could fall apart. Things were getting worse, and the cops were starting to notice. It was clear that things were getting worse among the Gucci gang. Should they act quickly to get back at them, or should they hold back and try to keep things under control? The split made the gang less cohesive, and every day there was a greater chance of deception. For Little, getting revenge wasn't just about getting even. It was a fight for the gang's soul. There was one question that kept coming up. Who could they trust in this power struggle? The answer would have a twist that would kill. In May 2019, when Seán Little was brutally killed, the Gucci gang lost all of its power and could no longer be fixed. Little had been a rising star in the gang before he was killed in a cold, planned hit meant to send a chilling message. The attack wasn't just about one person, it was a message to everyone in the gang. Betrayal has consequences. Even though the murder was shocking, it wasn't completely unexpected. Too many people were against Little because he was trying to get revenge. and his rising power was seen as a threat. Most people think that the hit was planned by different groups within the Gucci gang, maybe even those who were loyal to Mr. Flashy, but were less careful because Little was so hungry for blood. It was the last blow to a gang that was already on the verge of breaking up. The next thing that happened was embarrassing and people saw it. The sad fact that Little's body was found in an empty place shows that no one is safe in the underworld. The gang was shocked when he died, but it also made them dislike each other more. It was more than just drugs or money, it was also about power. Killings made things worse, and more people were killed. Some new people joined the game. He was one of the weirdest people. His part in Little's death made people doubt him even more. What did he do to play this dangerous game of cat and mouse? There would be more lies, betrayals, and bloody power grabs in the gang. The fights were far from over. Who is going to come next? In less than 24 hours, someone else was brutally killed. It was Jordan Davis, who was close to Seán Little. At noon, Davis was shot while moving his stroller with his child in it. It was a scary display of power. Because of how public his death was, it was clear that the Gucci gang was losing power in the area. Not only was the violence happening in dark alleys and back rooms, but it was also happening in public, putting innocent people in danger. The killing of Davis was a key event in the fall of the Gucci gang's power. The gang was going crazy after being invincible for a while. The killings weren't just happening in the criminal world anymore. They were happening all the time in the neighborhood. The Gucci gang's control over Coolock kept getting weaker as each death added to the pile. The gang's power decreased with each attack. What began as a fight for power had turned into an uncontrollable murder. The gang members lost trust in each other and started to worry about their own safety. It wasn't about who would be killed next. It was about how long they could last in this never-ending cycle of payback. One more person steps forward, and what they do will tip the scales even further. Who will be the next person to die in this war for power? Hamid Sanambar, once a trusted ally of Seán Little, soon found himself under suspicion. The Gucci gang talked about it. Did Sanambar know about the hit on Little? Had he helped set up his old friend with someone else? It was hard to ignore the reports, especially since Sanambar was seen with Little's family just hours before he was killed. After that, Sanambar was the next person who was killed. Murdered outside of the Little's home by masked attackers, he was killed in cold blood, a cruel deception. It wasn't just another killing in a gang. It was the last, worst act of payback. Sanambar was once very important, but now he was gone from the game he helped make possible. His death caused the Gucci gang's kingdom to start to fall apart. The gang finally broke up because of the problems that had been building up inside. The group that used to work together and be dangerous was now just a broken, suspicious shell of what it used to be. The gang was weak because of constant killings, mistrust, and shifting alliances, and it was heading toward its eventual end. As the gang's internal problems got worse, another crushing blow came. Eoin Boylan, a member of the gang for a long time, was killed in cold blood. His death was the last act of betrayal. Boylan was shot and killed just hours after joining forces with Sanambar's followers. His death left a lot of questions unanswered. Any longer was just a battle for power, it was a fight to stay alive, and the gang was breaking up. Boylan's death put an end to the Gucci gang and showed that no one was safe in this cruel fight, no matter how close they were. The Gucci gang was no longer in charge, but the damage they caused was far from over. Who would be the next leader? Would the violence keep going, or was the city ready for something worse? The answer was getting closer than anyone thought, even though it was hidden. More people were killed, and the city started to shake from the violence. Finally, the police stepped in. As the police cracked down harder on the Gucci gang, the gang's power over Coolock began to weaken with each raid. As detectives closed in on the operation, they watched as the gang members gave up under the pressure and collected information. The kingdom, which used to be untouchable, was now broken and easy to attack. The last blow was quick. The Gucci gang's business fell apart like a house of cards when the last few members were caught or killed. They used to have full control over Coolock, but now there was a dangerous power void there. The streets, which used to be known for their flashy power, were now full of doubt. But even though the police were getting tighter, the criminal world was far from quiet. There were new players coming out of the dark who were eager to take the place of the Gucci Gang. After the Gucci Gang destroyed a city, it was haunted by the murders they caused. But the cycle of violence, payback, and betrayal was still going strong, even though the gang's reign of terror was over. There were still fights in the streets of Coolock, and things were about to get worse. Would the police ever be able to put an end to this chaos, or would someone else step up and take over? As one part ended, a new one that was even more dangerous was about to start. The murderous betrayals of the Gucci Gang shook Dublin's criminal scene to its core. But the violence that broke up the gang is just a small sample of how Irish gangland crime is always changing. With new people coming into Dublin's underworld, who will be in charge next? The story isn't over yet. The fight for power is still going on. And that will be all for today's video. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications for more criminal gang stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.